So talk to us about the long term versus the short term in the context of what we were just talking about.
You know, I'm gonna flip the switch on you. Like, it's how I kind of think about this show. You know, I've been watching from afar and impressed with your grind. You're hustling, right? And you're pounding and you're pounding. And look, I was there 2 years every day of Wine Library TV, not selling more wine, investing.
Yeah.
And then Joel Stein decides to write an article about it. And back then, main media, and even today, mainstream media can help these kind of things, you know, and he writes about it and, you know, and all of a sudden it's in Time Magazine, Conan O'Brien's, people see it, now I'm on Conan, then the internet takes over and starts talking about it, amplifying it, the YouTube video of me and Conan, and it just starts happening, right? But then I decided to be in the business and talking, making videos, nothing's happening, I go give a talk at Web 2.0, you know, smurf it up and away it goes, and you know, and that's what it is. One gal at 2 o'clock in the morning that's at HBO is, you know, surfing around and sees this interview and is like, that host's got it, and your life changes. And like the lack of patience, the lack of patience is, what the lack of patience means to me, of most people, is they don't love what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're not doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
They don't believe in themselves. They don't have the resources or the time. But it's one of those things, and that's why so many great things go unnoticed. Hey, I'm Garyvee, Nerd Chuck, and you're watching Behind the Brand with Brian Elliott.
Hey everyone, I'm Brian Elliott. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Brand. Today I'm here in the iconic Garyvee office in New York City, the new Hudson Yard. Gary, welcome back to the show after all these years.
It's really nice to be back with you, brother.
The feeling is mutual. I've got a lot to ask you. You've got a new book coming out. You've launched VeeFriends.
A lot's happened since we played basketball. Woo! Same travel. Someone's feeling it. Oh. Yes! Highlight reel. Yes, I hope you caught that.
I don't think you have any gas left in the tank.
That's what you call steel. Yeah! You didn't think I was gonna lose, did you?
You are leading Web 3.0. There's a lot to talk about. I want to roll back the clock a little bit since we haven't touched base for a while. And for my audience and everyone else living in the cave, I like to ask, how did you get this job?
I took it. And I think that's what's so fun about entrepreneurship, right? There was no decision from any single person. The decision came from every person. And so that, you know, like we did, and I don't know if you're gonna splice some of the old stuff. I was pretty chunky. I'm getting up, and they don't want me to because there's a lot of people here, but I'm getting up because I need you to subscribe to Behind the Brand. Every time I see clips of us, I was like, ooh, that might have been one of the motivating facts to get myself into a little bit of shape. You look great, by the way. I am an entrepreneur through and through and through and through and through. And this whole Web3 thing that you just mentioned, when I really had my epiphany moment in January around NFTs and Web3, literally out loud, not like I normally do to myself, out loud, I said, thank you, God.
Wait, is this January 2020 or 2020?
2021.
Okay.
Summer, fall, winter 2020 is when the smoke was starting to rise.
Yeah.
Late December was when I finally had a few minutes to really study, because don't forget 2020, my biggest problem was I was trying to navigate VaynerX.
Yeah.
COVID, like.
So what was the smoke? Was it like the Bitcoin bro?
I met with Roham before NBA Top Shot came out, and I remembered CryptoKitties. I'd bought Ethereum many, many years ago, so I understood the concept of building on top of Ethereum.
Did you not buy Bitcoin?
I did, I bought Bitcoin before Ethereum, but I loved both, and there were only two cryptocurrencies I'd ever owned from 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah. I didn't get into the 2017 ICO craze of all these Litecoin, all these different coins. I kind of was like, wait a minute, is this kind of like kind of maybe happening. I was getting really rekindled for the last 2-3 years into sports cards. I had started looking at video games and comic books as alternative investments. Roham tells me about Top Shot. I really like it. I get busy because I can't do anything about it. Big missed opportunity for me investing, buying. It explodes to the bananas. It's on my radar, but I'm still navigating over here, very focused on VaynerX. Start talking to some old buddies, Kevin Rose specifically, founder of Dig. He mentions CryptoPunks. I go down a 50 hour, because I had the time because it was late December. Yeah. It's my favorite time to explore because the world's shut off. Family and curiosity, right? And was like, oh, this is happening. And then basically just did a lot of homework, talked to a lot of people, read a lot of stuff, listened to a lot of stuff, and decided Web3's coming. And literally stood up and said, thank you, God, because what I realized was intellectual property, collectability, supply and demand, storytelling, community building, trading on popular culture, collateralizing. It was like, oh my God. Like I genuinely leave. And then I'm like, Bri, I'm 45 at the prime of my career. Yeah. So it's not only did this thing come along that I think comes very natural to me, but it came along not when I was 20 like the internet, right? Not in 35 years where maybe I'm in a different place in my career and family, like smack in when I've decided subjectively 45 to 60 has always been something I've talked to myself about as like the prime of my career. Yeah, sure. And here I, not only in my prime, in the literal beginning of my prime, I was incredibly excited and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah. So can you also then, let's go a little deeper. Can you Please. Put your finger then on what you're excited about? Because you talked a lot about arbitrage, right? You know, whether, and I love this idea of that rant that you have about audacity. Can you talk about that for a second? You know, when you talked about someone maybe dissing you on investing in XYZ, you're like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think the world is obsessed with convincing people and being in the hot take business, and I think most humans are audacious. They think they're right about things.
Yeah, it's this, not that.
Right, and you know how much I love and instead of or, and abundance instead of scarcity, and you know, I think the thing that, you know, to go a little bit deeper to the first part of your question as I bounce around, now I'm 45 and this is the third time that I've gotten this spidey senses. This was the exact same feelings, which is, let me tell you what the feeling is before I tell you what it is. The feeling is, I can't do anything else but spend every minute on this because this is gonna be big.
Yeah.
I didn't own a computer. This is I did not own a computer when I had an epiphany moment in a dorm room in 1995 that I was gonna put my dad's liquor store on the internet. I don't know what to tell you. I did not own a computer. I thought computers were for nerds. In 2005, when I had the epiphany that social media and content was gonna change the world, I had never even crossed my mind to be a known personality or do a TV show, radio show, local show, speak, nothing. Yeah. And immediately sent somebody else to get a camera, sat down, tasted 3 bottles of wine, and started on February 20th, 2006, Wine Library TV, and then a couple months later joined Twitter to promote it, and then everything that I'm pretty much known for started at that point. Yeah. Literally, the moment before that, I was running a retail wine store. Yeah. And was a retailer and a businessman, and that's what I was going to do. So I know what my body does when my spidey senses tell me the world's about to change. I believe that NFT infrastructure is going to change the entire society, and I've gone head first.
How do we extrapolate that feeling? Because I think it's different for everyone, right? Yeah. How do we know the difference between, you know, I'm scared, I don't know if this is going to work out, or if this is truly, you know, like the moment I'm inspired, or you notice a tipping point in the market, something. How do you become that self-aware?
I think it's a personality trait talent. I can't sing like Beyonce. I'm not as good at fighting as Tyson Fury. I'm not as good of a cook as, Rachel Ray. I am good at understanding what people are gonna do before they think they're gonna do it. So, it's a really challenging question because I want everybody to get value on the other side. I think what it really speaks to is, luckily for me, after many years of doing it as a child and into my 20s, somewhere in my mid-30s, I'm like, wait a minute, my subconscious became my conscious. I have a thing here. Let me keep developing it. I think for everybody who's watching right now, maybe hearing that, it wasn't until I was 37, 38, 39 that I was like, I got this knack. It's not seeing around corners. I'm not Nostradamus, but shit, when I see something and I believe that people are gonna do it, online dating. I told every one of my friends in college in 1996 that everybody would online date. In 1996, online dating only meant one thing. You're 600 pounds, you live in your mom's basement. Why did I see that? Why did I understand it? It's, the Queen's Gambit really fucked me up. Besides, it was a show that I couldn't stop watching.
Same, yeah.
She did her shit, right? Playing, I do that.
Yeah, it resonated with you.
It was the first time somebody had visualized what I do.
Yeah.
Now I don't do it but I kind of do. I kind of say, okay, this is gonna happen. Everyone's gonna say it, that you're just saving a JPEG.
Yeah.
The same way that everybody thought Twitter was just about walking your dog, and then later people realized it was changing our geopolitical climate. Then people are gonna fixate that it's just on collectibles and art, but it's a platform. Just like people fixated that social media was just for kids. I start doing these things. Right? This one's scarier than social because money's involved. So people are gonna lose a lot of money. Somebody just bought a llama eating a taco for $47,000 that's gonna go to zero. I know that to be true, but it doesn't mean the NFT space is going to zero.
Right.
It means that the craze of the gold rush, just like internet stock in '99, will get people to make bad short-term decisions, but long-term, every ticket to Madison Square Garden will be an NFT, and if that's the night that Zion drops 100 points, everybody's gonna leave and sell it for $500 as a collectible. Everyone's bracelets to Coachella are gonna be an NFT. Every Equinox membership is gonna be an NFT. I'm gonna sell a home that is an NFT that represents the home. This is a contract overlay. We are not ready yet for all of us to fully understand what decentralized servers mean, the way that I in 1995 had to understand through 95 to 2001. All these 40, 50, 60, 30-year-olds, they didn't grow up with an internet, so they're using the past. So they think it's stupid to buy something on a computer, because why don't you just go to the store? Because they can't even project sitting down and buying something and having it delivered. Yeah. I can, because I think people do that on catalogs, but catalogs are not effective. They're like LL Bean, right? So I don't predict, I just understand. I understand that people buy Mercedes, people buy Dunks, people buy Rolexes, people go buy homes just to communicate their wealth.
Status.
Yeah. Or their happiness. People take fake photos with their family at Disney to communicate a happy family with, even though at 11:30 at night in that hotel room they got into a massive bar. People project. People want to keep up with the Joneses. People are insecure. Others are abundant and want to communicate. There's a million different things out there. Mm-hmm. I know that NFTs are the most scalable version of it that I've ever seen, even more than social. Yeah. I already know, sitting here in 2021, that the public wallet, your wallet, with all your NFTs in it, will become the next social media. That we're gonna know more, that when Jason hit my radar, are we gonna hire this guy? That not just like we looked at his Wikipedia if he had one, LinkedIn if he had one, Instagram if he had one, TikTok if he had one, but in 2027, I'm gonna look at his wallet, and I believe what's in his wallet is a much better indication to who he is than what pictures he decided to PR to the world. Yeah. What you buy. I'll give you an example. I went, you can't see it, my shades are down, Madison Square Garden's right there. I went there on New Year's night, 1999, to a Fish show. I was there, 1999, Fish played there, New Year's, I went. Worked all day at the dad store, drove in, met my friend Joe Minakawa, who now works with me at Vayner NFT, and we went to fish right there. I know that I've put out almost as much content as anybody on earth in the last 15 years, and I've never mentioned fished once. I know that because somebody would have went to my wallet, saw that I went to a fish concert because the ticket was an NFT, that person might have felt a different kinship towards me than they would have. I know Jason's thinking like, I can't believe Gary went to that. Like that's why I believe in the power of it, because I can only recall so many things. I can only share or have an agenda to share or a subconscious agenda to share so many things. But my NFTs will show a much more complete picture.
Yeah, it's more than breadcrumbs. It's like fingerprints and
a passport.
Yeah.
Right? But it's a passport mixed in with a Rolex, right? Mixed in with a utility, a ticket. It's a very, very big deal. Right now, 98% of the projects will go to zero. That's gonna create a lot of headlines in 2023, 2024, that NFTs were a fad, NFTs were shit. Yeah. This told you, all the cynical people are like, I told you, haha, you lost all your money on a Bored Ape or a VFriend or whatever. But then, just like 2004 and 5 with the internet, when everybody made fun of people who lost money on internet stocks, the internet rose like a phoenix and ate up our world. I'm completely convinced that's gonna happen in the NFT world.
Yeah, so it's patterns, it's everything and nothing has changed, right? It's still, word of mouth, it's still reputation, it's still status, it's still,
Yes.
gut. Yes. Everything and nothing.
Yes. There's universal truth side that I believe in, and then you just recontextualize them to the new playing field.
Yeah, we're humans. This is what we do. Correct. We wash, rinse, repeat.
For the 47 to 63 core things we do, it's why I believe in humanity. We've gone through a lot of social and political unrest. There's a lot of pain and things to uncover, but there's been that way all the time. Everyone who wants to make social media be like the bad guy, I'm like, really? Because television and radio led to the greatest era of fascism, dictatorship, genocide. Like all of a sudden we love to put the past on a pedestal and demonize the current. Right. It's almost like when people die. Like, unfortunately, that would be the right transition word. I've been to enough funerals of people that I've known who also happen to not necessarily be the nicest people that ever walked the earth. And I knew a lot of people there, including coworkers and even children who I knew would talk nothing but negative things about that person for the decade that I knew them. Mm-hmm. But the second that person passes, all of a sudden the rebranding of them is remarkable. Yeah. And by the way, I think that's wonderful. I think it's one of the great traits of a human being. But it's what we do in society, which I think is detrimental. We get into a romantic point of view of the past. I loved, on a much more lightweight thing, I loved when like 3-4 years ago, we decided that writing letters was some noble act. Because people didn't want to get text to. We were demonizing texting so much that we decided that if somebody sends you a letter in the mail, there's some fucking national hero. Right. We do that shit, and I don't like it because it makes people unhappy, and I want to fight against it.
So you talked about death. Let's just ping that for a second. So is that sort of still your life goal, is to see how many people are going to show up to your funeral? Is that
100%? And the good thing is, 8 years later, or however long it's been since we've been together, that number is higher, and I'm proud of that. And I will continue to live that way.
This show is called Behind the Brand. We talk about brands a lot. Can you speak to the Garyvee brand? Sure. And then maybe we'll use that as a stepping off point to talk about the book, because I think it's if I was with out of shape Gary, back when I let you win that one-on-one basketball game.
Get out of here, let's bring the videotape.
I totally let you win. I have to tell you, you had a headache that day.
Get out of here.
And your back was hurting.
Let's play again.
Oh, okay. It's on. Anyway, but out of shape Gary, but I feel like you have, as you should, you've really come into your own. You're hitting your stride. You're in the prime, just starting the prime. So talk about, what is the Garyvee brand?
When I think of it, obviously a very specific focus group of one on this. I think it's a brand that is built on accountability, a brand that is incredibly big on belief of trying to find happiness at all costs.
So what does accountability mean? Does that mean everything's always your fault, like you say, or?
It's a tremendous perspective. I believe when you believe things are your fault, you feel like you're in control and you have the ability to fix it. I feel like when you point fingers, it's an incredibly sad place to be because you feel helpless, which leads to a lot of levels of anxiety, depression, and unhappiness. I'm aware that not everything is my fault, but I can tell you at VaynerX, 1,500 people globally, I do believe everything is my fault because my brain goes to this place. Well, let me make up a fake office. If the Sweden office is not going well, I hired Johan. Like every time there's a problem, I'm like, I hired somebody that got, I really do believe that. I don't believe that I'm in charge of how everybody acts in every situation, but there is this beautiful, symphony in my head of look, this is my song. I am driving this car. Yeah. And so I love accountability. I'm very hot on accountability.
Can I tell you a gift you gave me?
Please.
So this was not the first time we met, but this was maybe one of the first times we met. It might have been, right around Thank You Economy. And you said to me that you noticed my hustle, you noticed what I was doing, and that you wouldn't be surprised if someday CNN came calling or the Today Show came calling. And you gave me a gift because that was high praise, a high compliment. But at the same time, as I was continuing to listen to what actually you were saying over the next couple of years, the gift was I didn't listen to that. Because at first it was my ego being fluffed. I was like, oh, Gary thinks I'm good. And then I started thinking I'm good. And then I started going down the trap of, why isn't CNN calling yet? What's happening? And then I started kind of waiting subconsciously, like I'm doing this with the expectation that something's going to happen. And then I realized, no, you're doing it wrong. Everything is your fault. You can't wait for people. You have got to go and do.
Yes.
And it was such a gift because it released me, right, from the expectation of the call. And I don't know, a few months after that, I completely just forgot about it and just head down and just did my thing.
What's funny, as you were talking, it made me think of something. People really struggle with nuances. I've come to realize, so much of what I'm misunderstood for in the Garyvee brand is the context, is the nuance. Yeah. My greatest strength is context and nuance.
Yeah. Well, first it was hustle, right? People misunderstood the hustle.
So I have been really thinking about, I have a real strength around nuances and context, intuition. This is where people miss it. Let me give you one right now. Accountability. When people hear accountability, an enormous amount of people convert it into beating themselves up. I stink.
Right.
Accountability is a beautiful thing. Deciding that you're a loser and beating yourself up, judgment on oneself, is a bad thing. There's such a fine nuance there, but this is something I'm trying to spend more time on and call out, which is why I'm doing it right now, which is being accountable doesn't mean booing yourself.
Why do you think people do that?
I have a theory. I have a very strong theory. I think that it's because a lot of people are parented in a way where a parent, the neighborhood, somebody of influence, or their natural DNA has created the trait of negativity towards themselves. The people I know the best that struggle with judgment on themselves are completely byproducts of parents that instilled it in them.
Yeah. Yes. Can I share something?
Please.
And I'll just speak from personal experience. This is the trap that I started to walk into, which is the self-sabotage, the telling yourself that you're not that great or you're not winning because you're not good enough.
Yep.
That is easier than trying. That's easier than sticking with it. That's easier than rubber hits the road.
Much easier. You know why I'm reacting this way? The Garyvee brand is optimism based in practicality, kindness and happiness on pure and utter audacious offense, which is also the hardest. The easiest thing in the world is to be cynical, pessimistic, and negative.
Right.
It's why everyone's doing it on social.
This is what I'm talking about.
The hard thing is to be optimistic and kind and be the bigger person. It is dramatically harder. And even worse, most people that have it don't have time for everybody else that's negative and just live their merry way. And I'm trying to get other happy, abundant, kind people to take on the responsibility of taking the misunderstanding and judgment from the masses to deploy more, to bring more happiness.
Yeah.
We live in a world where many people use fear and negativity as an offensive weapon, as an agenda, and very few that use optimism and kindness as a weapon to counter it. The ones of us who were lucky, which drives entrepreneurs crazy, but I know I'm lucky for the DNA I was given, the mother that raised me, the circumstances of not having much, which gave me ambition and tenacity. The ones of us that are lucky, that feel full, feel fed, feel set, don't need a thing from any of you. We have a responsibility to our fellow man and woman to communicate the things we see. And I'm willing to deal with a lot of misunderstanding and judgment, which hurts. I'm a human being, including hustle porn.
Yeah.
That shit drives me up a wall. It is never, go read Crush It cover to cover. Go take 7 p.m. Somebody said, fuck you, Gary, you said 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. I'm like, did you read the 3 pages before it? I said, if you hate your job, how lucky are you that the internet came along and you can build something on YouTube from 7 p.m. to 2 in the morning that maybe over time can get you to leave a job that has you deeply unhappy. That's very different than work 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. to make cash, to buy a Lambo, to act cool. That's very different.
It's such a good point. You have to listen carefully because some of the things that are said out there, if you, again, taken out of context or taken too literally, it doesn't work. Ship it is a great example. Don't ship it if it's shit.
A million things.
Right.
4-hour work week is a brilliant concept. It's talking about efficiency. I headline wrote it and didn't understand it in the beginning. So, I think there's a million versions of that, which is why you equally have to have humility. I have a ton of empathy to people misunderstanding me. Here's why. I put out a 30-second video on Instagram, and that's the only thing they saw. And we live in a headline reading society, and why should I have the audacity or ego to think that somebody should spend 5 hours fully understanding my points of view? That is audacious. So I don't, which is why I'm okay with people not getting the full context. It also doesn't mean it's true. What our society needs to realize is we are absolutely in a place in popular culture where we want to hear what we want to hear. The end.
Well, it's a projection of us onto you. That's how I understand you, is only through my own life experience, right?
I just so understand. I mean, including our interactions through the last 8 years, I know when it ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
And I know you have to go through your process. That's not a negative to me. That's me hoping and cheering for everybody. Everybody goes through.
So I can hear in the YouTube comments right now, someone saying, well, I'm the nice guy all the time and all I end up being is the doormat. What do you say to that? Like, I'm too nice.
I don't believe that to be true. I believe that people use nice guys finish last and kindness gets you walked all over as pure excuses for other variables in the equation. This is why I framed the book as ingredients. I actually think a lot of people use the narrative of being nice as a manipulation tool to try to get somebody to do something they want. Most people who cry about getting taken advantage of actually had an agenda, and they weren't being kind, they were trying to manipulate a situation. I see it all the time. I've been on the receiving end. Gary, I want to drive you from the airport to the... Yes, but really what you want to do is get my scarcest value prop, which is my time, and what's going to actually happen in that car is you're going to ask for advice, which I'm incredibly flattered by. However, I use my transition from airport to hotel to FaceTime my kids. It's not that I want to be mean, it's just I need a little bit of my own time. Then, in the occasional times you take someone up on something like that, they said they just want to drive you to the car. I just want to drive you to the hotel. I haven't done this because I'm scared of this scenario, but if you then don't say yes, and you're like, hey, I just got to do my headphones, I got to do some work. Oh, I was being a nice guy, drove Garyvee, like, and I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
I see it every single day. Being kind is predicated on what the other person wants, not what you want to give. So when people say, well, I'm a nice guy, it's just not true. Now, what may be true is that, much like me, and I was very vulnerable, I've been lucky that I've had the power, but I'm not confrontational. So maybe it's not your kindness, it's your inability to have conflict. It's your inability to be candorous that leads to you getting walked all over.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I believe the walked all over crew was trying to manipulate an outcome by giving something they wanted to give, not what the person that they were trying to get something from wanted. I really believe that.
I think so too. And if you go to buy any new car or used car on a used lot, what do they serve? Donuts. What are the donuts there for? Right? There's this sort of social contract. Well, we did something for you, now we want something.
Don't even get me started. Free trial. My ass.
Yeah.
It's a low cost acquisition for lifetime value because you think I'm gonna forget to cancel my credit card. And oh, by the way, this guy will forget, which is why I stay as far away from anything, Look, there's like some of these sayings are so fun, right? Like nothing in life is free, super real, right? Like, and I am now in a place where people want to get involved with me, and so I'm triple conscious of it. I don't want to let people down, which means I over communicate up front, more and more and more, because my reputation, back to the funeral, is everything. But I also don't think I'm accountable to everyone's actions. There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
You try to do the best you can. But the biggest reason people struggle with kindness is because they come in with expectations.
Yeah.
Every kind thing I do in my life, I have 0.0% expectations in return. And when you have expectations, they're transactional. I did something, now you have to do something for me.
Yeah.
Like, even like people I adore, you know this too, right? Like, I really struggle with transactional frameworks. I don't know how to live in it. But I don't judge the people with it because I understand. It's a very easy thing to understand. I'm just so uncomfortable in it because I don't think that's how life is being scored. Yeah. I think it's in the macro. Plus, I trust myself to make it okay. So, it's really fun how the world is built that way.
Yeah, it was such a gift you gave me, and I want to thank you for it because it meant so much. And maybe talk to creators too, because this is something that every few months I wrestle with, and I call it a wrestle because I've
You made it.
I debate it, but it's like keeps me up sometimes at night. Like I have to take inventory. Like, am I on the right direction? I guess what I'm getting at is this expectation that, hey, I'm putting out this video now, and like 7 of you showed up to watch it, and then the guy who's doing what I'm doing just a little bit worse has got 7 million people watching it.
Yeah, I think the problem there is I never think that person's doing it worse. Yeah. So like one of the things that really works for me is respecting the audience more than my own opinion. So I think I'm about to build something so insane with VeeFriends you can't imagine. Like, I really think I'm about to build over the next 40 years my ambition is Disney. It's so big that it's like even and I shoot big, am like empathetic to why that feels like an audacious statement. But there is no doubt in my mind, my agenda is to build Pokemon, Disney, all that, right? But if VeeFriends fails, it's because I wasn't good enough. I never think, I would never say that word worst. And I think that's the part you have to play with. There's 2 things that I think you have to think about in your wrestling. 1, spending 1 minute looking at somebody else's success and deciding the world is wrong about it is a losing formula.
Yeah, for sure.
2, everything I do is for the doing of it, not for an outcome. Maybe maybe there was a gift there, but maybe there was a little bit of a curse in that CNN comment I gave to you 8 years ago, because I don't do anything with any expectation that it's gonna lead to anything. I do it because I wanna do that thing, and I believe the breadcrumbs and the collateral from it will, in fact, create something, but not a specific thing. Yeah. The goal is a forever omni-gray thing. Even the Jets thing. Talk about another thing that's misunderstood about my brand. Mm-hmm. I could give 2 fucks if I ever buy the Jets.
Yeah, and everyone's probably rooting for you to fail. Like, oh, he'll never do it. Look at.
You know what's funny? I think the world's awesome. I think 85% of the people are actually cheering the shit out of me. It's just the 20 or 15% in that scenario that are louder than the 85%.
Maybe it's Patriot fans. Who knows?
Oh, fair enough. But for me, I just want to try to buy the Jets.
Yeah.
Like the game.
Yeah.
My game.
It has always been about the process for you.
I'm obsessed with
About the
obsessed. Even being a little bit more on the personal level, which I don't share a lot. From 5th to like 10th grade, it's very clear to me in hindsight, I just wanted to get the girl that I liked to like me. I was even scared to even date. I was like a little scared of girls, right? Like I didn't want to go the next, like I had enough personality skills and who I am that I was able to win that game against odds a lot of times. But then I feared the actual relationship. I was too focused on my sports cards. I matured late of like being ready for like sex and shit. So like, it was the process that I liked. Can I get Stacy Johnson or Pam Moses to like me? Not, will I then do something about it?
I love that. I want to go back to VFriends. We're talking that this is Web 3.0. You are at the front of the parade, leading it. For people who don't know what VFriends is, you did an initial drop, but unpack it and then tell me what's coming kind of closely behind it.
On its surface, not the behind, because I'll go to that, thank you, but the surface, it's a project that has a little bit more nuance to a lot of the projects, if you know any of the projects. Most of the projects follow a framework created by CryptoPunks, which was the kind of first 10,000 different character,
Like an 8-bit kind of look.
Yep, 8-bit kind of look. 2017 established the protocol that everybody, ERC20, like the OG project, the thing, the fucking thing, the Honus Wagner, all of it. It was just like the NFT project. Beeple's an artist more one-on-one. This was the VFriends, Bored Ape Yacht Club, everything that you see now. A series, like trading cards, 10th, like characters. VFriends is one of those, 10,255 tokens instead of 10,000.
You did all the doodling. You did all the art.
I drew, just saw it somewhere.
Right here.
Thank you. I drew, so I love to doodle. Like this is actually my main character, but here's a version, right? So, I doodle a lot in meetings. There's a lot on Garyvee. I drew them all. Then we converted them into vectors, and then we designed them with my guy Frankie, who's a co-founder of SupDucks. He was the designer, and we created this world, and we put out these characters. In that 10,000 style, I decided it's time for me to become Vince McMahon, not Hulk Hogan. It's time for me to become Walt Disney, not Mickey Mouse. What VFriends represents is Garyvee, the brand, for the last decade, has been trying to push optimism, kindness, work ethic, accountability, empathy, clearly, many other things. I'm just one dude. I'm a very specific dude. I'm a 45-year-old white dude. Like, I'm a very specific thing. I'm a Jersey dude. And I can land for a lot of people, as has been shown by my success, and there's a lot of people I can't land for. I, the human being, Gary Vaynerchuk, believe that I'm on this earth to be one of the individuals who really counters all the information that's being spread and the feelings in the system, and that because people are attracted to the way I communicate, or I understand how communication works, that I have to do something about it.
Yeah.
The 268 VFriends that I drew, Empathy Elephant, Patient Panda, these are my Buzz Lightyear, Woodies, Pikachu, Hello Kitties. I drew them all.
Which one's your favorite?
That's a really good question. I ebb and flow based on the word in front of them. I'm very, very passionate about Patient Panda, but let me tell you my favorite. I decided the last minute, right before the project launched, to make it the mascot. My favorite is the very, 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 very lucky black cat. Let me tell you why. I've never shared this. So I don't like that black cats are unlucky. It's been with me my whole life. It's just never sat with me. I don't like it. My legacy when I go into the ground, I hope is predicated that I was, and maybe long after I'm gone, is that I had real agenda for good. And that I used every talent and every capability I had to pump it. And I was able to change perception and perspective. I really want to see if in the next 50 years, I can change the black cat to being a great thing instead of a bad thing. I think it represents what I'm up to in a very subtle way. It's funny for me that I'm even saying this because I wanted to keep it, I over-communicate. It's just my strength and my weakness. Yeah, the very, 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 very lucky black cat, because I don't think the black cat should be a negative thing.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try to make this project so popular that a kid born in 2039 won't even know how a black cat wasn't good luck.
Best advice, age agnostic. You could be 20, 30, 50, 60, doesn't matter. You're new to crypto, you're new to NFTs. Where do you start?
Best advice, number one, don't say no. The biggest reason people are gonna struggle with this opportunity is they decided it's not real.
Conceptually.
Yeah.
Like, this is a good idea, accept it.
Be curious and live in and yes instead of or and no. Curiosity and humility. Humility is powerful in moments like this. I'm busy, my time's busy. I'm gonna choose these other things instead of something that may or may not work out.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so let's say I have some disposable income. I have $1,000, maybe $10,000. What percentage of that should I allocate?
Well, if it's disposable, I think that crypto in its current state is an education path. So when I hear somebody has 1,000, my natural inclinings go to this world. Go garage sailing, flip, because I think flip life in a safe place, not NFTs, that's not safe. That could be huge, but it can go to zero. Yeah. Buying things at garage sales for $1 that are 30 bucks on eBay is guaranteed. The problem is most people don't want to grind that out.
But that's a metaphor too, of just anything you could arbitrage, right? It doesn't have to be toys.
You understand why I'm so infatuated with a garage sale?
Yeah.
It works every time. Like, you understand, like stocks, sports cards. Like, you may bet on Zion, he just might be injured too much. You might have been right, but you're wrong. When you actually go to a garage sale and you buy a toy for $1 that you look up on your eBay app that's $29 to $39, you will make that $15 in profit after shipping and eBay fees. And like, if you have the humility to grind that for a year or two, that 1,000 is like 9, 15, 23,000. That gets me excited. But anyway, it's a little tangent. 50 hours of homework, podcasts, Twitter, Discord, 50 hours of homework, and then you buy an NFT project that's just starting because you've done the homework on what this all means, who the people behind the project are, why does it have a good chance of succeeding, blah, blah, blah.
And so you need to be in a place where you're able to learn, which is another word for able to fail.
Correct.
And so that's where you get started, okay.
Let me say one thing that we didn't touch on. I touched on it just quickly while we got a couple minutes. I'm really trying to challenge myself on this curiosity thing because I'm also starting to realize how much humility is a part of it. And I'm starting to realize how much that is who I am. For everyone who's like, he predicts, he sees around corners, he's Nostradamus, it's all based on humility and curiosity. Let me explain real quick. Musically, I was so busy with Vayner. I didn't have time to look at, Musically was for 12 and 11 and 10-year-old girls. Right. But my curiosity and my humility that I can give up these 25 hours even though I can make more money over here, patience, long-term, Queen's Gambit, led me to a place where I understood it well enough that when TikTok came, I was already on 3.5 base while everybody else was like, what's TikTok or no way. And now TikTok, as we film this, is the establishment. It is taking market share from Instagram. Like, it is the establishment.
And YouTube.
That's right.
Good stuff, Gary.
All right, brother. Cheers. Thank you, guys.
I mean, we were just sitting back, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that. Tracking my roots, where I came from and where I'm going. But like I say, man, always said it. It's not about the destination.